What's up, guys? So today I'm going to be talking about something really special. Basically, it's going to be on how I sort of created this sort of empire when I was like in middle school. And this is going to be a summary. Now you're going to see this video and you're going to notice that it's going to be like 40 minutes long. But the truth is, it's still going to be a summary. For me to realistically tell you every little detail, and for you to completely understand what I went through, that would take 3 times as long potentially. So this, however long this is, 20, 30, 40-minute video, is going to be my best summary of what's going to happen. And it's an elaborated summary, but still just a summary of what's going on. So I'm actually going to do this, or at least part of this, just walking around, because I feel like it'd be cooler. Right now I'm in my dorm. Anyhow, it started when I was in like middle school. I started this, I was doing this thing for fun, right? I liked this online video game. It was a video game that was free. It was called Club Penguin. I'm sure you've heard of it. Anyone who's my age or younger has heard of it. Right now it's still around and it's still fairly popular. Millions play it. Basically, when I was like in middle school, I can't remember when, I believe like 6th grade, if not younger, probably 6th or 7th grade, I started this game, right? And this all started from me just doing something for fun. Now, that's one of the key things I feel in certain ways is important. You fall into these kind of stuff not seeking money, but seeking just enjoyment out of something. Now granted, nowadays that's a lot harder to say when you're out of ideas and the stuff you enjoy don't really warrant much money at all. So basically, I was playing this game, right? And through Google, I found these websites that sort of they told out how to. They're like pretty much cheat websites for the game, basically. And there was a couple of dominant players on the internet at the point. Very dominant players. I mean, they had built sort of like empires already. A couple had millions of total site views already, total hits, millions. So there was almost like a brand behind it already, in a way. Again, noted, I'm in like middle school right now. And that's how it started. See, basically, I love this game so much. I love these websites because of the content that these websites created. And what the content was pretty much, it was just cheat websites. Not even cheats. They were websites / blogs that pretty much told like all the little details, these little hidden tricks and stuff about the game that people wanted to know, but really couldn't figure it out. So they had this huge amount of traffic going through Google from players who wanted to know, how do I get this item? How do I finish this little mini game? And all this traffic was funneled to these websites, these few sort of big players in the market. And at the time, I didn't know all this. I was just thinking, this seems like a really cool thing to do. It's like, it looks really fun. And after about like several months of just me admiring the website and using these websites, specifically a couple websites, eventually I came across the idea that why don't I start something like this myself? Now, this was a crazy idea, and I really don't know what sparked it. I thought it'd be really cool, just that dream, that idea of, hey, I would love to have that sort of community behind me where I can post blog posts and there'd be this whole community following me and enjoying the content I create. And that's similar to what I'm doing now with the videos, but before this, I was a little kid, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna try this out. So with no knowledge whatsoever, I just looked at the websites, and I tried my best to copy them. I knew, okay, this is some sort of software, and then I found a software. It was a WordPress blogging software. It was free, and slowly over time, I just copied the top websites. Now, this may seem bad, but I was learning stuff. And I remember that time when I finally finished it. Basically, at the time I was a little kid, and I was like, I wanted to copy the website exactly as it is. And I remember sitting there on my computer, my mom had no idea what I was doing, and I did it. It took a long time, it took some research, but after a couple hours, boom, I had the website down pat. And I was just like, wow, awesome. The next big hurdle was the fact that, holy crap, I have 0 visitors on this website. And I still vaguely remember that day. I was sitting in my study room, and my mom was behind me just doing random stuff. She had no idea what I was doing. She looked, but she thought I was just doing, like, playing games or something. And I was this little kid, and I thought, darn it, I'm not getting any traffic. How am I supposed to get traffic? At the time, I guess I was too naive to even think about the fact that I was competing against people who already had a brand and content and millions of views and a fan base, and I had 0 views and nothing to go by. And the next big thing was the fact that I was starting to get views, and I was very confused. It was like 1 view, 2 view, and then in that day I got about 100 views, and I was very excited. Then after a few days I realized, oh, these are my own views. I've been refreshing the website to check if every update I'm making looks correct. Those are my own views. So I'm like, doh. And so there I am with 0 views on my website. Now, back in the day, and I'm going to tell you about why it was harder back in the day, because the game Club Penguin had been out for only a short while, maybe a couple years, I can't remember exactly. But because of that, there was a couple big players, and this was brand new. It was completely new. Only those big players really had any sort of influence. So I didn't have much to go by other than those players. Hold on, we're going down one floor real quick. And so there I am with 0 views, and that's where the journey started. I finally set my goal. Okay, I want to get a following started. I want to get a website like this one website, like the top hits. And basically I was judging this based on total views. I could search that number up, and there's this one website who that was number 1. The website at the time was it had like 100 to 150 viewers on at all times. It was gaining considerable traffic, hundreds of thousands of views every day, and I wanted to be just like that website. The problem was, here I was, 0 views, nothing to do, no idea what to do. I'm just sitting there like a duck, and I started just thinking to myself, how can I get people to my site? What do I have? How can I get this done? And that's where it started. And it's very simple. Like, I could break this down in business terms, a lot of fancy terms, and stupid stuff, but who cares about that? The 2 things that I did, and I'm just going to tell you in layman's terms, because who needs all those stupid business terms to confuse you. Basically what I did was 2 things. 1, I did exactly what my competitors were doing. 2, I did it better. That's all there was to it. And on top of that, the third one was consistent grinding for years. It took me a couple years to, more than a couple, maybe even like, can't remember exactly, but 3-4 years to eventually build the following I did have. Where I remember I was in high school and I was just on the computer before classes started every morning, and none of my friends knew what I was doing, but I was generating tons of traffic. I mean, I'm just gonna skip a little bit to the end just for now. I had like 200 300 viewers on at all times, and I was a high schooler, and this was a one-man show, and that's kind of one of the reasons that led to the downfall of my first project. But again, I'm skipping ahead real quickly. Basically, long story short, I had this project, and I did what I just said. I copied what the biggest guy was doing. I did it better, and I did more. So, for instance, I'm going to give you an example. There was one blog post on, say, in the game, there's these things you can collect called pins. And I took those pins, and I would make blog posts on where you can find these pins. Immediately, the moment the patch updated and the game released the new pin. When I started, it took me like a day, maybe 24 hours before I eventually sort of, sorry, there's people talking. Sometimes it took me up to 24 hours after the release of a patch to eventually sort of write my blog post, and that cost me some traffic because competitors got to it faster, and then the people searching it up on Google went to my competitors instead. And soon I learned over time of ways to just do it instantly, which mainly meant me just staying up really late and just going on a computer and going at it immediately when a patch updated. Now, after that, I thought there was someone behind me following me. Anyhow, after that, what happened was I did this for many years, and I added tons of stuff, tons of content that the big competitors didn't have. And long story short, I read up on search engine optimization, which is just a fancy business term for how do I get people to my website when no one knows about it. Because you'll find this out real quick when you start a website. No matter how great your content is, if you just let it sit there, it's going to have 0 views, 0 hits, 0 visitors for months, even years on end. And that's the truth of the matter. Unless your content is exceptionally good, and just by chance someone were to stumble upon it, because let's face it, how can someone get to your website? Maybe they'll have to type it in. How can they type it in if they've never heard about your website? Maybe they do a typo, that's not very likely, or they just stumble upon it through Google, and that's also not very likely unless your content is something really special and Google just so happens to find it automatically with its spider search. So essentially what I did was a lot of search engine optimization. Now what does that actually mean? And there's a lot of fancy terms for it, a lot of fancy methods, but in all honesty, all it was just a lot of grinding. I went to every single competitor. At the time, there was a couple, and by a couple I mean like two to 4 really big market websites out there. And obviously these guys were huge players. So I contacted them through their contact form, whatever contact thing I could find. I mean, I scoured their entire website looking for any form of contact, and I tried it all. I pounded it through, and what I was looking for was, hey, is there any way you can feature me on feature my website on yours? Maybe we can do a blog exchange, a blog roll exchange, which was pretty much you link to me, I'll link to you on my website. And I know your website's more popular, so in turn, maybe I'll give you something extra, cash or something else. And obviously, these big players didn't even respond. I mean, I really didn't expect them to respond anyways, because let's face the facts. They are freaking monsters, and at the same time, they were probably kids as well. So their inbox is probably filled with tens of thousands of emails. I'm probably not getting through. So this is what I did. I Googled certain search terms such as Club Penguin cheats, Club Penguin, etc., hacks, or Club Penguin tutorials, and through these I found all these websites, and with each of these websites they already had a blog roll set up. And long story short, it was just pure grinding, pure hardcore grinding. I remember doing this for a couple hours every day, and I loved it. Why? Because I knew I was over time getting somewhere with it. I was seeing progress. Similar to how when I upload YouTube videos nowadays, I'm seeing a very small, but still a linear regression, a positive correlation where I'm gaining views every single day. And so every day or every other day, I would sit by a computer, and this is what I'd do. I'd find a website I hadn't been to, and basically there's hundreds of like grassroots, sort of small, minor Club Penguin blogs as well. They had a total of like 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 total views, total visits. And basically, obviously, they were potentially trying to do the same thing I was. The problem was, and I immediately noticed this, they weren't as dedicated as me to the website. Their grammar was off, stuff they were doing was sloppy, their pictures were corrupt or blurry.